Alright, hey guys, we're back with top 8 now. Top cut has been decided at the West Babylon Battle City Gym Premier Challenge. On top, you see Tman once again after he lost to Inasha. He still ended up making top cut because he had a 3-0 record before losing his last two. In the last set, we saw that Tman, Tommy is running Kangaskhan, Raichu, Moongus, Machamp, Azumarill, and the Moltres. Yeah, and let's see, Keegan's team, which I have here, is Kangaskhan, Florges, Ferrothorn, Gyarados, Rotom, and Salamence. So relatively standard outside the Florges, so I'm interested in seeing what the Flower can do, but once again, Tommy also using some really cool Pokemon. Of course, in the last game we saw that it was running Life Orb on the Moltres and a Choice Scarf on the Machamp. We also saw that the Raichu didn't use Encore when it could have sealed up the game. So, Life Orb, Moltres, interesting to see, and Machamp, of course, with Stone Edge and Ice Punch, really scary to deal with, especially as a Choice Scarf variant. Keegan's team, both trainers opting to go with Mega Kangaskhan, so that should be interesting in seeing. Kangaskhan, of course, the most dominating Mega Pokemon in VGC 2014. If you're not using it, you better have a darn good reason why, but both trainers opting to use it this time, so the mirror matchup will be interesting. But both actually opting to go with some interesting sets. In the last one, we saw Tman running Substitute on his, and we'll see what Keegan is running on his Kangaskhan. But yeah, I mean, in the matchup, I think, first of all, Tman didn't reveal what that Amoonguss had in the last game, so curious to see what that has, whether it's carrying a Rocky Helmet, which, most Amoongusses nowadays carry, because a Rocky Helmet Amoonguss is a great way to redirect attacks away from Kangaskhan, but we'll see. Now, Tman's going to lead with Raichu and Moltres, and we're going to see a Salamence and Gyarados from Keegan's side. Gyarados, oh. Yep, okay. Is Gyarados not on this team sheet? Oh, it is. Okay, so we're going to see the double Intimidate come off, but not going to matter at all for Tommy, as neither of his Pokemon are affected because they are not physical. Raichu, of course, has that Thunderbolt. Moltres threatens with the Life Orb. Because it doesn't have Life Orb, I'm actually really curious in what set it's running. We only saw Overheat, and besides that, if Moltres had, let's say, Hidden Power Ice, that would be huge in knocking out the Salamence here. But, Raichu, really, really good Pokemon. It's the fastest one out here. It gets the Fake Out off onto that Salamence, and you see it's relatively bulky. But we see the Stone Edge come out right away from that Gyarados. Wow, let's see how much damage it does. It knocks out the Moltres. Wow, brilliant play there by Keegan. Really, really great way. Moltres is going to fall down right away, and that's a huge knockout there on Keegan's part. So really, really impressive play there. Gyarados just going right for the knockout right away. And Gyarados is interesting Pokemon in VGC especially. Mega Gyarados has picked up a lot of popularity recently, but if you're not using the Mega variant, you often see, bulky Citrus, often Choice Band, even sometimes Choice Scarf, Choice Band. All the Choice items work on it, except for Choice Specs, of course. Stone Edge, Waterfall, Earthquake, Ice Fang, Thunder Wave, so many different viable moves on it too. And that Moltres, because it is offensive, is just going to fall down to the Stone Edge there. Even, non-stab. Gyarados here opting to switch out, probably not wanting to take an electric type attack. And we are going to see Rotom Heat come in, really the best Pokemon to switch in here, as the Raichu goes for that Thunderbolt onto Rotom Heat. It's not going to do very much, but you'd expect that. Oh wow, the Dynamic Punch coming out instead of the Ice Punch, probably expecting that Salamence to switch out, but Keegan deciding there's no need to switch out. So smart play on his end there, as it is going to be confused. Let's see if it gets the attack off. Oh, and it hits itself in confusion. So Dynamic Punch, one of the reasons why it's so solid is, of course, because it, confuses your opponent automatically. Confusion is such a good status, really scary to deal with in VGC. But now that the Salamence is, confused, he might want to switch out. Of course, now it's good that the Machamp is not locked into Dynamic Punch, because now it can't one-hit KO the Salamence as opposed to, say, the Ice Punch earlier. And Keegan's gonna stay in with that Salamence. Thunderbolt's gonna come off. I'm not gonna KO it though. We do see the Dynamic Punch onto that Rotom Heat. Let's see how much damage this does. Rotom Heat hangs out with 42 HP, and both Pokemon are now confused. So now we're in some trouble with confusion rolls, and it is going to get the Draco Meteor off, so that's big for Keegan. Keegan really needed to get some attacks off now. It's really scary dealing with confusion, because then you're rolling dice, but Keegan able to attack through. Wow, that Draco Meteor picking up a one-hit KO right there as the Machamp faints, and wow, that was a big knockout. And Rotom Heat is still confused. Let's see if it attacks through, and it gets the Overheat off too, so Keegan is in a fantastic position there. Confusion's not rolling well for Tommy there, and that's kind of the thing when you play with Confusion. You can't just rely on it. Keegan takes a quick 4-2 lead now, or 3-2 lead, excuse me, as, no, 4-2. And Kangaskhan is going to come out as Tman's last Pokemon, but now Tman can safely switch out Salamence and bring it back in if he wants to and get the Intimidate. Raichu also really hurt. And of course, we haven't even seen Keegan use his Kangaskhan yet. He's got Gyarados in the back too for Intimidates. But you know, Raichu's really fast, and it's not necessarily over yet, especially as Keegan doesn't switch out either of his Pokemon. Tommy here might actually be able to pick up a double knockout with a Fake Out and a Thunderbolt, and that would greatly sweep things back into his favor. Raichu does go for that Thunderbolt onto the Salamence, and Kangaskhan actually not opting to even bother going for the Fake Out. We see the substitute come out from that Kangaskhan. Wow. I'm not sure if that was the right play or not, but now it's dependent on what Rotom Heat goes for. Rotom Heat is going to get the Will-O-Wisp off, but it goes into that substitute. Wow. So I was, you know, if I were in that position, I probably would have went for the Power-Up Punch onto that Rotom Heat just so you guarantee a knockout. But instead, ends up being a pretty good play. That substitute's going to be huge, as now Kangaskhan actually is going to block out that Intimidate. So game's not necessarily over. You know, still got a long way to go. Kangaskhan under a substitute, very scary, especially as they can, you know, safely Power-Up Punch now. And Raichu still has that super effective Thunderbolt, but we see the Earthquake come out from that Choice Scarf Gyarados. That is going to be an Earthquake there, and that's going to knock out the Raichu. Not going to take out the Kangaskhan substitute though, as oh, it is going to take it out. Excuse me. Surprising there, and Raichu's going to fall down there. Let's see what Kangaskhan goes for. It does go for the Power-Up Punch this time around, and that is going to hit the Rotom Heat. Let's see if it's enough to knock out there. It's enough to knock out, so that's good. And Kangaskhan's going to get to plus 2 now. Of course, Intimidate not expecting, Intimidate not going through there. Of course, there's some debate between the substitute and Power-Up Punch play. But now we see Keegan is able to safely get in his own Kangaskhan. But now it's interesting because you know, he's gonna have to Earthquake himself. But this Kangaskhan running substitute. You send the Power-Up Punch. You probably expect Return and Sucker Punch. So Tommy's Kangaskhan probably not carrying Protect. It's not very common. And now Keegan can just Fake Out and Earthquake it, and the damage is just going to be too overwhelming. But we're going to see the Protect come out from that Kangaskhan. Wow. So Keegan blocking himself from all attacks. So both Kangaskhan's running somewhat unorthodox sets. We're going to see this Earthquake come out from the Choice Band Gyarados on Keegan's end. It's going to do, wow, nothing at all. But the return goes into the Protect, and that is going to be really big for Keegan. He needs as much damage off as possible at this point, and that was really big. We're going to see another Earthquake come out now onto Keegan's end, opting not to go for the Sucker Punch, as Kangaskhan does get the return off. Who will it hit? Oh wow, picks up the knockout onto that Kangaskhan. If it is carrying Sucker Punch, that might be the game, as I'm not sure if Protect there was the right play, but he's probably not carrying Fake Out, opting to go with Protect over it, and instead Tommy might be able to just seal up the game now with the Sucker Punch. The Kangaskhan is going to Sucker Punch. Let's see how bulky the Gyarados is here. Going to bring that down to 34. That's a knockout. Wow, Tommy pulling the comeback and winning the game after Keegan's in a fantastic position, and he is going to end up taking the first game there. So nicely played by him after Keegan took a 4-2 lead, and that's why you know, substitute Kangaskhan really helping him out there, and getting it to +2 was huge. He set it up to the point where he was in a good position and could pick up the double KO, and the substitute helped him out a lot as Keegan opted to target the Raichu that turn instead of the Kangaskhan. So Tommy's going to take a 1-0 lead here in game in the best of 3 set. It's interesting to comment on both players' use of Kangaskhan. Of course, Tommy is running Kangaskhan with Substitute instead, and Keegan is running Protect on his Kangaskhan. Neither trainer is opting for Fake Out, which is so weird to see because Fake Out's so common. But of course, this is a best of 3. Last time, Tommy lost his Moltres right from the start, so you might want to conserve that a bit better, especially as Keegan's Choice Scarf was revealed to be that Choice Scarf. So that's important knowledge to know as well. In a best of 3, knowing what Pokemon is Choice is always really important, of course, because yeah, in a best of 3, you play a lot smarter. You know, you're not just going to let your Moltres say faint to Stone Edge again once again. So having that knowledge like Gyarados' Choice is really important on Tommy's end. And you know, he got a bit careless losing Moltres in the first game and still ended up winning. So with this newfound knowledge, you know, he might even be able to be in a better position. But we'll see. This time the Zumro coming out along with the Raichu. Kangaskhan and Gyarados is going to come out on Keegan's end. Now, once again, getting the Intimidate off this time is going to affect that Azumarill, which is big. Of course, Raichu always threatens that Gyarados with that Thunderbolt, but in the first game, we saw that he was actually faster than the Raichu, but now that, so he can actually say just go for an Earthquake. But of course, Raichu often carries Focus Sash, and that is that is going to be the case in this game. Azumarill, interesting to see here, intimidated, but of course he can always just go for a belly drum, but Azumarill takes quite the beating from Kangaskhan in general. However, it's not necessarily a one-hit KO from Kangaskhan. While his return is super powerful, Azumarill is relatively bulky and should be able to hang on. And of course, Raichu threatens the fastest fake out right now. We see Kangaskhan Mega evolving, and you know, in the last game we saw that Kangaskhan is carrying Protect, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out this game. Now Kangaskhan is going to, Raichu's going to go for the fake out onto that Kangaskhan. So let's see what Gyarados just opting to Earthquake, attacking this Kangaskhan. Is it? Okay, I'll get a charger. You should be fine though. The Earthquake is going to bring the Raichu down to 1 HP, as Azumarill does go for the belly drum. You can unplug the... Oh, my charger? Alright. I think we can unplug this one. Here, can you get that? Okay, so we saw the Earthquake and we saw the belly drum come out of the Azumarill. Azumarill now at +6, but Keegan opting to Earthquake his own Pokemon, but smart play there as he brings both Pokemon down to very low HP. We see the Protect come out of the Kangaskhan, so once again Kangaskhan using Protect, but this time Azumarill is going to Protect as well. However, Gyarados here is going to get the Earthquake, and it's going to be a KO off onto the Raichu, and that's big. You know, interesting that we see just Gyarados straight up going for Earthquake while he's next to Kangaskhan, but that's a quick KO onto that Raichu. Never thought I'd see the day where a Gyarados would beat a Raichu, but I guess today is the day. That Azumarill now at +6, but of course is still... It's still, you know, it's under 50% already, but now that the Machamp is in, Machamp threatens the Dynamic Punch and the Stone Edge. Of course, Gyarados now locked into that Earthquake. I'm not sure if it's going to want to stay in or not, especially as it doesn't want to hurt its partner anymore, but he is going to stay in. The Sucker Punch here is going to go off onto that Azumarill. It's going to do a decent amount, doing around 25% there. Of course, not very effective against that Fairy type, as we do see another Earthquake being launched out. Now, let's see if it's enough to KO this Azumarill or not. The Earthquake is going to fall down. It is going to pick up the KO on Azumarill. Big KO there on Keegan's end, as Azumarill does absolutely nothing. See the Dynamic Punch come off here onto the Kangaskhan, but I'm sure Keegan is more than pleased with what just happened. Azumarill opting to not even go for an Aqua Jet. They're probably going for the play rough onto Gyarados there, but now Keegan is up 3-2, and he knocked out Tommy's Mega, excuse me, not Mega Evolution, he knocked out the, well, I'm blanking out. He knocked out the Azumarill, which is at +6, which is definitely the biggest threat right now. Of course, Salamence now able to come in and intimidate both, and what's so big about this is now that Machamp is locked into Dynamic Punch, he can't get the one-hit KO onto either Gyarados or onto the Salamence. Of course, now he can get the Confusion rolls, but you'd much rather just pick up KOs than, you know, play with Confusion. In the last game, we saw Confusion really didn't work out too well for Tommy. Even though he ended up winning that game, still not sure if that's the best move to go for. He's just gonna Gyarados launching just another Earthquake here, continuing to go with Earthquakes as Kangaskhan obviously doesn't have Fake Out, and we do see the Dynamic Punch come off. That is gonna hit the Salamence. Now the question is whether Salamence hits through this Confusion or not. If it does hit through, this game most likely will be over. Kangaskhan actually though just going for the Power Up Punch. So it's going to bring itself to +1, of course, intimidated once, but now getting himself to +1, that's big, and now it all comes down to this Confusion roll. This Confusion roll is going to be big. And just everyone crossing their fingers, slowly waiting, and it does get the Draco off. Wow, that's big, and it hits Kangaskhan. Let's see how much damage it does here. Slowly falls, and that's a one-hit KO. Wow, so Salamence doing work there, picking up the knockout, hitting the Confusion. If it did not attack through the Confusion, that would have been really big. As we saw the last game, Tommy was able to come back with his +2 Kangaskhan, but this time Keegan says no, and he picks up the KO there onto Kangaskhan. He's going to win the second game rather convincingly. Very well played on his end this time, and you know, it's not over yet. He's just got to rely on some Confusions, but Tommy's just going to forfeit there. So now we're tied at 3-3, and each player taking him down a game. So, yeah, nicely adjustment by Keegan there. Very fortunate that he hit that Draco through that Confusion. Obviously relatively low probability, but well played. And yeah, if you guys have not figured it out yet, that Salamence indeed is Choice Specs. You see how much damage it there, Modest and Choice Specs. Able to knock it out. In the first game, it knocked out that Machamp. So you should not be surprised though, but very nicely played this time by Keegan. Very good adjustment. And now we're down to game 3. So in the first game, Keegan, he was in a very good position, but Tommy was able to set up that substitute on Kangaskhan. I think it's interesting that Tommy conserves his Kangaskhan up until the very end, which is smart because Kangaskhan's the Mega Evolution is so powerful, and to eliminate most of your opponent's threat, bring it out, and even potentially set up a substitute and then power up punch. That's really big. And Moltres, not sure if that's really the best choice for Tommy to bring this time, as in the first game it did absolutely nothing. As much as I'd love to see Moltres, does nothing against the Salamence, the Rotom, even the Gyarados, and the Kangaskhan, as it is not running that kind of bulky set. So we'll see how that goes. But Keegan doing really nicely in that last game. He's just proving why he's showing why Protect is actually viable on Kangaskhan, especially when you're pairing it with something, say Earthquake, next to it. And Tommy losing that last game, Azumarill this time not doing anything. So he's gonna want to make sure he uses all his 4 Pokemon effectively, because in the first 2 games he lost Moltres in the first game, Azumarill in the second game. But we're gonna be going into game 3 this time. Tommy is gonna lead with that Kangaskhan with the Amoonguss, really one of the best duos in VGC 2014. Now Gyarados and Ferrothorn coming out, so both players making adjustments. That Ferrothorn adjustment's really good on Keegan's side. Ferrothorn is in perfect position right now. Couldn't really ask for a better position with Ferrothorn, as Amoonguss is not affected by Ferrothorn's not affected by Amoonguss' Spore and Rage Powder. So Kangaskhan, the Ferrothorn can just Gyro Ball the Kangaskhan, and Kangaskhan is at -1. So Tommy's Kangaskhan really is not going to want to stay in here. It is very frail at -1, and even setting up a substitute, you always have to stare down a Ferrothorn, which is something Kangaskhan really does not like dealing with. So really interesting. Keegan didn't bring the Ferrothorn either last 2 games, but he finally brings it in this time, assuming that the Moltres would not be coming out, and perfect adjustment there. We are going to see the Amoonguss switch out, though, instead of the Kangaskhan. So we're going to see the Machamp come in. That's a good adjustment there. Machamp threatens that Ferrothorn greatly, as Kangaskhan is going to Mega Evolve here. And, once again, Kangaskhan not able to go for the Fake Out because it does carry Substitute. So probably expecting a Power-Up Punch, quite honestly. As Keegan's showing, he really does not care about hurting his own teammates. He'll Earthquake any day. He's going to Earthquake there. And Kangaskhan does go for that substitute there instead of the Power-Up Punch, as the Gyro Ball does come off, and let's see who that targets. Probably targeting Kangaskhan. It is going to break that substitute. So the Kangaskhan switching works out pretty well now, as Kangaskhan now threatens both Pokemon with either Stone Edge or Dynamic Punch. The Earthquake play was rather questionable. I think I probably would have went for the Waterfall Gyro Ball there. No way, but I guess Amoonguss is something you just want to take down as quickly as possible. I think Amoonguss, knowing the position it was in there, probably could have went for the Spore onto the Gyarados slot, honestly, right away. Excuse me. But instead, switching out to Machamp. But Machamp really ends up helping out this position. Now it comes down to which Pokemon is going to be protecting. Actually, excuse me, Gyarados can't protect, but Kangaskhan's going to be switching out to Raichu. Oh, excuse me. The Moltres. Okay, so Moltres comes back. This time we do see the Protect come out of the Ferrothorn. Let's see if Tommy's Stone Edge is here or not. Not before Keegan goes for another Earthquake, though. It's going to bring that Machamp down to around 50%. So doing a decent amount. Oh, we see the Fire Punch come out, so not even running Dynamic Punch. But because of that Fire Punch, Keegan brilliantly protecting that Ferrothorn. You make the safe play there, but it plays out perfectly as you conserve it. And I think Ferrothorn's really big in this matchup. It has a very nice time against Kangaskhan. So that was a really good, just smart play there. And Machamp is going to be switching out now. Moltres is in a interesting position, but Moltres can't really do very much against Gyarados. Unless, we haven't seen the rest of Tommy's move yet. But we're going to see that Ferrothorn pull that switch out. A good switch, really, just conserving that for as long as possible. We're going to see Salamence switch back in. It's going to Intimidate, not going to matter on either Pokemon, but just getting the Salamence out is really the main priority. Earthquake just continuing to going, as it is going to get the Earthquake, and it's going to do a decent amount of the Amoonguss, 25%. We see the Hurricane come out, though. Wow. Opting to go with the Life Orb Hurricane with the stab, and that barely misses out on the knockout onto Gyarados. Does confuse it, though, so that's, once again, we see all these confusion rolls. Obviously something you never want to really deal with in VGC. You hate rolling dice. I know I hate rolling dice, but Amogus is in a position right now where it can actually spore safely, unless Keegan pulls some switches out back into the Ferrothorn, and I think we are going to see Ferrothorn come back in, but now the question is what Moltres goes for. Moltres opting to protect this turn, and let's see what this Salamence does. Salamence going for the Choice Specs, modest Fire Blast onto the Amogus. So let's see how much damage. Wow, that picks up the knockout. That was big on Keegan's end. And that's huge. Keegan is playing brilliantly with his Choice Spec Salamence right now, and that was a really big turn for him. Now, Machamp's going to come back out, but, you know, Tommy's still in a decent position because he's got the Scarf Machamp, and he threatens the Ferrothorn with the Heat Wave. But of course, Keegan still does have his Kangaskhan in the back. But, you know, really nice. We see Specsmans here making serious plays instead of the Scarfman. Scarfman's really not able to pick up KOs other than the super effective dragon type attacks and the occasional 4x fire type weak attacks, but in this case it's doing work. We see Stone Edge come out instead of Ice Punch, probably expecting another switch, so Salamence is actually going to stay around. We do see the Hurricane, ow, wow, the avoid as the Fire Blast is going to go off. Tommy opting to make a more conservative play there, but costing him greatly as the Machamp actually faints. If he just went for the Ice Punch Heat Wave there, he would have brought in this game. He would have knocked out both of Keegan's Pokemon. Instead, Keegan keeps both of his Pokemon, and by missing that Hurricane, yeah, there's not much more to be said than that. Kangaskhan is going to come back in, and as we saw in the first game, Kangaskhan can always turn things around, but Keegan, you know, he's in such a fantastic position right now, and it was this. Yeah, I mean, it would have been interesting to see that Hurricane hit, but unfortunately it was not the case, and now it's going to be an uphill battle for Tommy. But of course we saw Substitute bail him out in the first game after he was able to set up with the Power Punch. Not sure if that's really the case this time, but Moltres obviously can always still get the Heat Wave off. This time neither Pokemon switching out. He's just going to return the Salamence, so we might be seeing a double knockout here. As Moltres is going to go for what I would assume to be a Heat Wave. Oh, but it goes for the Hurricane, and it avoids! And the Gyro Ball is going to go off onto that Kangaskhan. Yeah, and that's going to be pretty much the game. That he really needed the Heat Wave. They're expecting Keegan, you know, going ballsy, but staying in with Ferrothorn, paying off greatly for him, though. Unfortunately, that is not going to help him. Now Gyarados is going to be able to come out. And since it is Choice Scarf, going to be able to just waterfall it for the KO. So Keegan is going to end up with the win here. Really wanted to see a Heat Wave there last turn. You know, even if he switched out there, you wouldn't be in the worst position. But now the waterfall is going to come out, and Moltres is going to faint there. And very nicely played set. Really nicely played.